So that game was utterly humiliating. It was as bad as it could get. There's no way to sugarcoat it, all right? We looked better against Michigan last season, all right? That could have been a one-score game late in the fourth quarter. This thing was done at halftime, all right? Now, before I really go and rake the team in the coals, I want to remind everybody something right now. We have the whole season left. This is one game. We can still win double-digit games. We can still win a Mountain West title. We can still do all that. And if we do, this loss will barely be remembered. All right? That said, this is the type of loss that could kill all fan enthusiasm for a season one game in. And I'm really curious to see how many tickets are sold for Georgia Southern next week, because there's 6,000 tickets left. All right? I've already seen comments, people saying, oh, I know family and friends who aren't going to show up to the game next week because of how they look today. Which is the kind of thing I'm talking about. And look, even if this, we can still, look, right now you have to go 2-2 at our conference. You have to give this fan base some sort of hope or confidence going into conference play. All right? Which makes the Georgia Southern game really, really important. But I'm going to just give my instant reaction as a whole right now to this game right here. First off, the quarterback. Warner was not the sole problem in this game. He took some licks and made some tough throws. However, this coaching staff should not be married to him. If a change needs to be made, they shouldn't be afraid to make it. All right? Warner made a lot of stupid throws too, and he showed why no Power 4 team really wanted him. All right? And I was very disappointed when the game was out of hand. We didn't see an arrow quarterback come in. We were dominated on both sides of the ball. And against a team like Kansas. Now, if Kansas does what Arizona State did last year, this is a less embarrassing loss. But we were promised as Bulldog fans that we would see a lot of physicality, a lot of power, toughness, grit. We saw none of that today. All right? We were just pushed around physically. All right? I mean, nothing says how bad this really was in terms of just being pushed around by all the long down the distance the Jayhawks had today. And you got to give them credit. You know, they're probably going to be a better team than you would think. But Fresno State should never be pushed around by Kansas. All right? This is not an Alabama. They're not a Georgia. They're not like some of these teams where you say, oh, yeah, no, you Bulldogs really got no chance if we're honest. And in fairness, I did pick the Bulldogs to lose this game. I just didn't think it'd be this much. All right? But it was a rough one day. Really rough. I know wide receivers, when they had a chance, they made plays. I know people will be concerned about the cornerbacks, but there was some real tic-tac calls by the referees that made them seem worse than they really were. I've seen some people go also like, oh, how can they know the holding calls and all this kind of crap. Referees are not a problem today. They really were not an issue. Kansas fans are complaining about them as well, I mean, we lose 31-7, that ain't the ref's fault, So Matt Entz came in at 16-11, but there were people who were saying, well, North Dakota State, was it just because he was part of that machine? I mean, we're left with, at best, a lot of questions as Bulldog fans. Are we settled at quarterback? Was there real competition? Why were we pushed around like we were today and on the lines and on the linebacker spot beyond just the other team being a Power 4 team? Because there have been times we played against teams that are outmatched like Michigan last year, and we went toe-to-toe with them. So it doesn't really make sense why this happened today against Kansas. I mean, Kansas is not as talented as a Michigan. Just, really frustrating day today. This is not how you want to start the season, as I've said, but it's just one game. We'll see what happens. I'll go over the stats and so forth later in the week. Just want to get this out of my system right now. See y'all later in the week.